नमस्ते प्रणाम गीता ध्यानम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Partha. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Son of Vasudeva, slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Our reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 18th Adhyaya of Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, and just now Sri Krishna has kind of concluded explaining to us the influence of the three gunas on various kind of things that we get into while being in this world. When this Jivatman gets embodied, Jivatman gets embodied in a respective body to experience what is this Prakriti which has been projected from that Paramatman. Paramatman cannot do anything. Paramatman is in his or in her or in its everlasting bliss. Paramatman is not influenced by the three gunas. Paramatman is no way concerned with any activity. It is like that picture of Shiva in deep samadhi. No activity. No activity, no influence of any gunas, there are no senses, there is no body, it is nothing but that ultimate Satchidananda. But then, the Prakriti having got projected from that Purusha, Paramapurusha, that Purushottama, now there is kind of a desire of what is this? Now, Paramapurusha is devoid of any desire. There is no desire. So, a portion of the Paramapurusha, that Jivatman, a portion of that Paramatman, that Jivatman comes down. And Jivatman also being part of Paramatman does not have any senses, does not have any tools, does not have any instruments to experience this projection of Paramatman as Prakriti. Now, how to experience that? Jivatman needs a body. Now, the moment the Jivatman gets embedded in a body, the moment the Jivatman gets embodied, it comes into the clutches of that Mahamaya. The Jivatman gets embraced by Mahamaya, and then all the play starts. And then in the advent of experiencing the Prakriti, the Jivatman, the unfortunate fellow who has descended from the all, one and all Paramatman, has to undergo transmigrations from one body to another, to another, to another, to another. Because the bodies are temporary. They don't have eternal existence. The bodies come and go. The bodies which are composed of the Pancha Mahabhuta, they have to come and go. They are not everlasting. They are just the ephemeral things. They can go any moment. So the moment one body goes, the Jivatman needs another body, and that's how that transmigration starts. And then, why this Jivatman has to again and again keep on, taking so many bodies to experience what this Prakriti is. This is happening because of the gunas. And Sri Krishna has very beautifully elaborated on how our karma, how our jnana, how our we as a doer, we all are influenced by those three gunas of the Prakriti. Prakriti is comprised of three gunas: the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva, which is the highest of the purity. There nothing goes wrong with the Sattva. If a person keeps on following the path of Sattva, the end is nothing but liberation. But that doesn't happen. The other two gunas, the Rajas and Tamas, they keep on polluting the person. They keep on polluting the being in doing something wrong, and instead of evolving to higher and higher planes towards liberation, these Rajas and Tamas, they keep on pulling them down. Pulling them down in a sense, the Rajas keeps them at their status quo. Rajas ensures that the person doesn't move forward. Okay, person doesn't go backward also, but there is no progress. The person, that being, remains as it is for all the births to come. There is nothing but enjoyment of senses, the enjoyment of the worldly pleasures, that desire. Rajas gets up that Jivatman trapped into that bondage of desires. And Tamas, the worst of all the three qualities, Tamas just loses all the hell broke, all the hell is, they're just scattered around. And that Jivatman is pulled down and down and down. While Sattva takes it, elevates it up to the level of liberation, the Rajas keeps it as it is. The Tamas just pulls it down, and this happens in each and every phase of our life, and that is what Sri Krishna has taught us in the past few verses. In the last three verses that Sri Krishna told us about, how the happiness that this Jivatman is chasing, for that matter, happiness the beings are chasing. All the beings in this universe, all the beings in this creation, they are chasing that happiness. They also are governed by these three gunas. Those happiness, types of happiness, are governed by the three gunas. And then, having told us about that wonderful sattvika happiness, which is everlasting, initially it might be a poison, but towards the end it is immortal bliss, which arises out of the highest purity of the mind and the self-realization that leads to that state of the everlasting happiness, the eternal happiness, the immortal bliss. In case of Rajas, Sri Krishna told, initially it tastes very sweet, it sounds very sweet. It's a music to the ear initially, but towards the end, it is nothing but harsh note our ears cannot tolerate. It is nothing but painful experience. We feel pity on ourselves, why I got into that situation. And this happiness is because of the union of the senses and the sense objects. That is again the a momentary happiness that the beings, they can realize. Tamas is the worst case. Tamas doesn't have any happiness at all, for that matter, whether at the start or at the end. Yadagrecha anubandhecha sukham mohanam atmanaha. That sukha of the atmana is mohanam. It is all delusionary. Delusionary. The sukham at the start as well as at the end. There is no sukha. It is nothing but the sukha in the dream. It is imaginary happiness. Nidralasya pramadotham tattamasam udarhutam. And this happiness, imaginary happiness, this happiness which is imaginary, which is delusive, which is no reality, arising out of that typical tamasic qualities of sleep. I will sleep. Another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes, another 1 hour. What is the need to get up? And then alasya, that laziness, that indolence. I will do it later. What is the matter? That quality of procrastination out of that laziness. Why should I do anything now? If you do something, at least you will get a momentary happiness, like the Rajasic person. But if you don't do anything, that happiness is just in your mind, just like in the state of dream. And then pramad, that heedlessness, carelessness. All these three attributes of the tamas, they contribute to this tamasic happiness, which is no reality at all. So having told about this, yes, these three gunas, they are very strongly controlling each and every being. Each and everything in this universe is controlled by the three gunas. And now Sri Krishna once again, like Sri Krishna taught us about the three gunas. Again, he is emphasizing that all this Prakriti, this entire Prakriti, is governed by the three gunas. So now let us see the 40th shloka that Sri Krishna is once again telling us about. No one can escape from the three gunas, for that matter. No one can escape. The moment we are into this Prakriti, the moment the Jivatman is into the Prakriti, embodied in a body, embodied, taking a shelter in this temple, for that matter. This is the temple, the body is the temple of the Jivatman. But it is controlled by the three gunas. And that's what now Sri Krishna is telling us in this 40th shloka. Na tadasti pruthivyam va divi deveshu va punaha satvam prakriti jair muktam yadebhi syat tribhir gunaihi. Na tadasti pruthivyam va divi deveshu va punaha. Na tat asti pruthivyam. There is no one on this earth. There is no one in this universe, for that matter. There is na tat asti pruthivyam va divi deveshu, or even in the heavens of the gods. There is no one. Va punaha. There is no one even in the heavens of the gods. There is no being on the earth, or again in the heaven among the gods, among the devas. Satvam prakriti jair muktam yadebhihi syat tribhir gunaihi. That nobody is Sattvam. Sattvam is no being. No being on this earth, or no being even in the Devaloka, in that heavens where the gods are, in fact, gods are not, for that matter, they are not Brahman. They are evolved human beings, that's it. They also have their time cycles. They also are afflicted by the pleasures and pain, the pairs of opposites, the dualities. The gods are also experiencing those things. Only thing is their time frames are different. For the human frame beings, okay, time scale may be 100 years, max for that matter. For gods, it may be 1,000 years, 10,000 years. But again, there is an end. Although they are at a higher plane, not on this earth. They are in the heavens. They are enjoying all those heavenly pleasures and all those things. But they again experience pleasure and pain. When the moment for gods comes that, okay, they have to go back to the earth and take the birth as human beings because they have completed their allotted time in heaven. Now that is the greatest pain, the greatest misery that a being in that heavenly plane would have to experience, of losing all these heavenly pleasures. Now I have to again go back to the earth. So Sri Krishna says, whether it is an ordinary being on the earth or even the gods in the heaven, all the beings, they can never be liberated from the three gunas. Prakriti jaihi. They are all born of Prakriti. All these beings who are born of Prakriti. The moment Jivatman wants to experience this Prakriti, what is happening around, the body is required. So all these bodies which are born of Prakriti, for the Jivatman to dwell in, they all have to experience that nobody is free. Nobody is free from the influence of the three gunas. Muktam yat ebhihi syat tribhi gunaihi. Nobody is free from, nobody is exempted from the influence of the three gunas. There is no being on the earth or no being in the heavens of the gods also who is liberated from the influence, who is liberated from being controlled by the three gunas, because all these beings who are born in Prakriti, they are under the influence of three gunas. Tribhi gunaihi. That is what Sri Krishna says. That is the power of the three gunas. That is the influence of the three gunas, and nobody can escape. There is no exemption for any being. You cannot say that, okay, this list out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these category of people that are exempt from the influence of gunas. Sri Krishna says, no way. The moment the Jivatman gets embodied, the moment a being is born with the Jivatman dwelling inside, he cannot escape. There is no escape for all these beings who are born of Prakriti, who are born in Prakriti, who are part of Prakriti. They cannot escape from the influence of the three gunas. That is the greatest power that the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, they behold on this, on all the beings. Being the part of, they are all generation of the Prakriti itself, and like the beings are also generated by the Prakriti. Beings are also created by the Prakriti. We, I, you, they, all, we are all created by the Prakriti. And as we are created by the Prakriti, so are the gunas created by the Prakriti. And gunas become our inherent nature then. We cannot escape. So that is what happens, that the three gunas and the Prakriti, they become so identical. The former, the gunas, are taken into account when distinction is to be made among the attainments of the Jivatmans. So the moment the Jivatman gets embedded, gets embodied, the influence of gunas, it starts. As the aggregate substance, gunas and Prakriti are one and the same. We cannot dissociate. The moment we are part of this creation, we are part of the gunas. The gunas are part of us, and then they drive us. Then the gunas drive us. Whichever guna is predominant, that makes us behave in certain fashion. If sattva is predominant, we do all the purest of the pure things. If rajas is predominant, we go after the sense enjoyments. We go after the material pleasures. We go after the worldly enjoyments. And if tamas is predominant, we are most lethargic beings on this on this earth. That is what happens. We cannot avoid any of the gunas. From a blade of grass up to Brahma, the creator, all the jivatmas are bound by the gunas of Prakriti. Even the jivatman, which is part of that Parabrahman, which is part of that Paramatman, cannot escape the influence of the three gunas. The moment the Jivatman gets embodied, and till the time there is no liberation, the influence of Prakriti, the influence of the three gunas will continue. And therefore Sri Krishna is telling us, get rid of it. Why you are getting entangled into this Prakriti? Why you are getting entangled into this constant, continuous births and deaths, continuous coming and going? Get out of it. But we cannot get out of it just like that. Till the time these three gunas, they are influencing our behavior, they are influencing our qualities. Now on this, Sri Ramakrishna has given a very beautiful teaching. Sri Ramakrishna says, the sadhaka has to struggle hard against the base nature. You see, that is what happens. It is all the base nature. The animal instincts are profoundly predominant in the beings for that matter. And a sadhaka, the spiritual aspirant, has to fight against that, has to win over that base nature, that basic instinct has to be maneuvered, has to be controlled, has to be won over. It is after a prolonged endeavor that he gets into the state of samadhi. It is not that sadhaka will just sit there meditating and doing japa and gets into samadhi. No. Maybe millions and millions of births the Jivatman has to undergo. The spiritual aspirant has to undergo millions and millions of births maybe. And then comes a stage that after extreme efforts, after so much of abhyasa, constant practice or dwelling onto the self, then that jivatman, then that sadhaka gets the self knowledge, then gets the atmajnana, then gets that self realization and gets into the state of samadhi. It is after a prolonged endeavor that he gets into samadhi in which no trace of ego is left. Then me and mine, who am I, is lost then. There is no I, there is no small I, then there is only the capital big bold I. The attainment of samadhi is not as easy as one would have it. It is not that we just close eyes and start doing japa and meditate for some time and we get into that state of self-realization where the ego just drops off. No, it is not that easy, Sri Ramakrishna says. The ego born of the three gunas does not disappear easily. That is the magic, that is the influence the three gunas they have. They keep this ego so very firm. The ego becomes so steadfast for that matter. These sattva, rajas, tamas, they make sure, they ensure that guna is the ego is not eliminated. If ego is eliminated, there is no role to play for this sattva, rajas, tamas. If that robber in Sri Ramakrishna's example, where he had given an example of how three robbers, they bind a man, three robbers representing the tamas, the rajas and sattva, how they bind a person, how they bind a traveler, they rob him of all his possessions. The tamas actually wants to kill the man. Rajas says, doesn't matter, we will just bind this person, hands and feet we will bind, and we will dump him as it is in this forest. Let the wild beasts do their work of finishing him off. Why we should do that? And sattva unties. Sattva unties the man's bondages and tells him, look, there is your home. Go, and that is the way to your home. And when the man says, oh, you also come with me, I will offer you a cup of tea. Sattva says, no, I can only come up to here. I can only come here till your rescue, till unbounding you from this, the grip of the rope, from the clutches of Maya. That is only I can do, but I cannot come with you. Even I have my limitations. That is what Sattva tells. So like that example, even the sattva, rajas, tamas, they cannot get into that state of liberation because they are bound within Prakriti. So Sri Ramakrishna says, the ego born of three gunas does not disappear easily. Three gunas want to keep the ego intact. Sattva at least helps release the bondages. But sattva cannot get itself, disappeared. Sattva has to be there. Rajas has to be there. The tamas has to be there in the Prakriti till the time this Prakriti is there in existence. And only when one is totally freed from the clutches of these three gunas, then the ego drops. But not till the time the three gunas have influence on that being. The ego born of three gunas does not disappear easily. We are born in the world repeatedly because of this persistence of ego. Our I consciousness is so very strong that keeps us bringing back into this world again and again and again and again as the influence of the three gunas. So Sri Krishna says, no one in this creation, forget about the gods in the heaven, even they are not freed from the influence of the three gunas. What to talk of the little blades of grass or the tiny insects. So this is Sri Krishna says that nothing in this universe which has come out of Prakriti, nothing in this creation which has come out of Prakriti is free from the three gunas. No one can escape from the three gunas. That is the greatest play that the three gunas keep on playing in the realm of Mahamaya. So that was a great eye opener once again in this chapter, which is taking us on the path of liberation to show us that we have to go beyond the three gunas. We have to become Trigunatita. Only then there is some hope for the liberation. So that subsequently Sri Krishna will further elaborate upon what are our duties, how we can get over, how we can go beyond the three gunas. All those things Sri Krishna is going to tell us in this ultimate chapter, the 18th chapter of Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, leading us towards moksha through sannyasa, through the real tyaga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.